That was a good one, right?
I love that one. I love that one.
What is that from? What is that thing called? What is that game called?
It's an Atari game from back in the day.
Atari game? Emilio, are you out there? What is that from?
It's just my homemade game, man. That's all it is. I'm just the hero in everything we do. So that's
you are my hero. I'll confirm that.
You are the wind beneath my wings, sir.
Indeed. Thank you very much.
Just so everybody's tracking, we had a little hiccup on LinkedIn. It's reconnected now. It's so we're good to go. Okay, so we are broadcasting across Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and the Book of Faces Facebook. So there we go.
They can find this live broadcast later on Spotify and
iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio. There you go. Spotify with video, iHeartRadio with just the audio. Hence, radio.
The radio part.
And there you go.
All right. So welcome to another edition of Getting Certified, our weekly show that we do every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern time, 1 p.m. Mountain time. I guess we need to mention 2 p.m. Central so they don't feel left out, right? So noon, 1, 2, and 3, working left to right across the country. Emilio, by the way, is in Central time in the Panhandle of Florida, also known as South Alabama. So
Southern Alabama.
So welcome to another episode of Getting Certified, where we talk about the process, procedures, and why, and how of earning one of the RBLP leadership certifications.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mark, today we're going to talk about the RBLP framework, right? The framework, and specifically, we're going to drill down a little bit on the first resilience building leadership competency domain, which is create a positive climate, and that competency domain applicable to all three levels of our certification: RBLP for frontline managers, RBLP coach for experienced managers, sometimes called middle managers, and then RBLP trainer, which is only for senior managers in an organization. And so this first. We'll start with 5 competency domains, right? That's what we did the job task analysis back in 2018, 2019. We got that data back, and we ended up organizing the leader tasks that were identified, the leader tasks that were essential for building and leading resilient teams that could work through adversity, work through challenges, still get the work done. And more importantly, get better and better at what they do. So getting the work done and then getting better and better at getting the work done. So we're tying team building at the frontline manager level all the way through organizational learning and change at the senior manager level. And so when we organized those leader tasks that were identified during the job task analysis, we organize them into what we call competency domains. All certifications have associated competency domains that the certification exams are testing. That's the competencies that you're being tested on, right? And the first competency domain, the first of the 5, is create a positive climate, right? And so Emilio or whoever's running that, there we go. So this is a page from our website. This is on our website under framework in the top big main menu there. You can drill down to the 5 separate competency domains, and create a positive climate is the first one. This is the first one that everyone is tested on, regardless of whether you're sitting for the 90-minute RBLP exam for frontline managers, or RBLP coach for more experienced managers, or RBLP trainer for senior managers. Everyone is tested on this creative positive climate domain. And I'm going to just real quick, I'll read it here. Creating a positive climate for people to work in is essential for building and leading resilient teams. This involves shaping the shared perceptions and attitudes of team members. Creating a positive climate will lead to greater flexibility, creativity, and openness to new ideas. And when managers ensure that positive emotions are cultivated, it helps team members better cope with stress, adversity, and stress. So creating a positive climate raises morale. So morale is the measure.
Right.
If you have high morale on a team, then obviously the climate is positive. If the morale is bad, then that is an indicator that the climate is not so positive, right?
Exactly.
Yep. So what I want to do, Mark, you've taught, gotten people ready to sit for probably 100 or more people ready to sit for a certification exam. Personally, yourself, a couple hundred probably, taking them through the exam prep training. So I'm going to kind of go leader task by leader task here, and then let you kind of explain some of the key concepts behind it. Of course, we got it right up there on the screen. Leader task 1, analyze team climate. So I guess this would be, Mark, if if you're joining a team as a leader or as a team member, you're kind of, you're going to analyze the team climate, right? You're going to very soon you're going to figure out what's going on, and that's an ongoing role of a leader, right? To be analyzing the climate of the team. So go ahead and talk about. Go ahead, and your thoughts on this idea of climate.
Yeah, I think first off, there's a lot of people get twisted. They think they're interactive, right? They're interchangeable, rather. They think climate and culture are the same thing, right? And what this and the research shows, and a lot of folks know this, that when you're leading a team, that's a climate, right? The culture relates to the entire organization overall, right? And a lot of times people dive into this and they go, well, I thought they're the same thing. Nope, they're two entirely different things, actually. And what your responsibility is, that leader, is to work with your team and build a climate where people feel heard. They feel that they're contributing, and then their ideas or suggestions are being heard as well. Because there's no leader I've ever met who has all the answers, okay? Especially when the people are working into very unique areas of a project or something. So they might see something they think would be much better. So there has to be a positive climate where you feel comfortable saying, hey, boss, we were putting our heads together. We were thinking this would be something good. Oh, well, let's talk about it. Let's get this on the table. Let's see what we can do. And that's what you're doing here. And when you look at the culture of the organization, it's very possible. And what I always stress this when I work with people and talk to them, look, a climate is something you can impact within days, weeks, or months. You're probably not going to change the culture of the entire organization, but you have a massive impact on climate. And that is realistic to get changed, like I said, within days, weeks, or months, of a different look, and people willing to put in a little extra effort, because you really don't know. People say, my people do 110% every day. Dude, you have no idea. Okay. Not really. All right. But when they're in a climate that they know that they can be heard and respected and bring ideas to the table, it's amazing what can happen with the team.
Yeah. Positive emotions, positive climate characterized by positive emotions. Right. And so, people happy, or at least not angry. Right.
Right.
They want to come to work and, trust their boss, trust their teammates, treated respectfully. All of those things go into it, right? And so, and it's interesting too when we ask people, how would you characterize the climate of the team that you work on right now? We get some pretty interesting answers. Answers on that, and then of course, the follow-up question: well, how did it get that way? And can it be fixed? Yes, no, maybe so. So, okay. So analyze team climate is leader task number 1. Leader task number 2. Let's hit that one. Earn trust. This is a great one, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And here are the keys, out of the job task analysis. Obviously it was identified that earning trust is a leader task. Leaders need to earn the trust of their team. And it came out of the research that competence, integrity, authenticity, and vulnerability were terms that were mentioned often in association with the leader's responsibility to earn trust. And again, this is applicable to frontline managers, more experienced managers, and even senior managers. Earning trust never goes out of style, right?
Never. And it's pivotal because when I went through this and then teaching it over time, you can work on a lot of things, but if you don't have trust of your people, they're going to give you the bare minimum that will keep them in the job, and they'll never go above. Why? Because, things change and you don't mention it to them, and now they're doing overtime and they're having to come in late or early or whatever, because you just can't be trusted as a leader. Right. You don't have their back. You're not giving them clear guidance. It's changing all the time, but you're not taking the time to update them. So they feel like they're kind of swinging in the wind, and it's like, you know what? I'm just going to wait until he finally makes up his mind. All right. And they sit around and wait, and people will, and you go, oh, you trust your boss? And every time I've asked that question, I've gotten a mixed feedback. I kind of, and I'm like, okay, well, why do you say that? And they let it loose and they go, yeah, not so much. So it's really critical.
Yeah. And oftentimes they'll identify one of these, my boss doesn't know what he or she is doing.
Absolutely.
So I don't trust them. Or my boss doesn't walk the walk or talk the talk. They have no integrity. They say one thing and do another thing.
Yep.
Or my boss is fake, inauthentic, right? Or my boss, the vulnerability. My boss never shares anything, never shares anything with us. So earn trust, being the operative word there. Trust, easy, hard to earn, easy to lose. And even more difficult to earn a second time, right? Yeah. And so anybody that's ever had someone's lost trust in them, an employee, friend, spouse, whatever, earning that trust back a second time is exponentially more difficult than the first time, but also inevitable because you're going to screw up.
Yeah.
Fact of life, right?
Yes.
So you're going to earn trust with people sometimes more than once. Fact of life, right? All right. Next leader task.
Yeah.
In the create a positive climate competency domain is treat people with respect. And a couple of the key terms that came through on the job task analysis that came up more often was this idea of dignity, that everyone has, inherent dignity and should be treated as such. And the idea of active listening came up as kind of critical. So these are kind of the two things that you absolutely must do as part of treating people with respect, at least according to the job task analysis that we did. So talk a little bit about treating people with respect.
Yeah, I think this is one of the big keys, in my opinion, because you treat people how they want to be treated, okay? But you don't sit back and just drag your feet. If you have resources, if you have some sort of learning mechanism, and you have 10 people on your team, 5 of them get access to it and 5 don't. Okay, you're not even respecting the 5 people who want to learn too, and you see this happen, and like got my favorites and stuff. I'm like, stop. We all get it, or none of us get it. It's real simple math, right? And I know that over time you'll see that valuing opinions. You will see that some leaders
active listening, right? Listening to what people have to say.
Absolutely, and they'll jump on 2 or 3 people, and whatever they say is like gold. But if I have an idea, we don't have time for that. You're not treating people with respect because you don't know what they have to say until you let them say it.
Right.
But you can't make those type of issues will start stacking up. It doesn't take long, and pretty soon you've got a divided group. It's a whole thing. And you know what? Started by the leader, the way you treat people.
You know what? Dr. Tony is running late for this particular live broadcast. Dr. Tony's been with us quite a while now, so he's running late. So I could either yell at Dr. Tony for running late, like he just started working here last week, which still might not even be appropriate, right?
Right.
Or I just say, yeah, stuff happens. Don't worry about it. Me and Mark, we got it. See you when I see you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. People, employees, team members come in all shapes, sizes, colors, and varieties, right? And so everybody needs to be treated with respect, and the respect is in the eye of the beholder, right? And so if you are not a young woman in a workplace predominantly filled predominantly with older men, if you are sort of breaking a glass ceiling, those men may not have a clue what respectful may not understand what your view of respectful treatment is, right? So it's kind of like beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Respect is also in the eye of the beholder, right? So I know there's this like golden rule and platinum. I think the golden rule is treat people like you would like to be treated.
And then the platinum rule is treat people how they want to be treated.
How they want to be treated, right? So a 62-year-old gray-haired old man like me may expect one thing, and my 25-year-old daughter, Navy officer daughter, may expect a different thing because we have separate lived experiences, right? And so it's important to get to know your folks and treat them with the respect that they're looking for and that they deserve, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of funny you bring that up, because when I work with folks and talk to them and stuff, I say, look, we go through this, and they have a lot of good insight and a lot of good thought on this. And they said, have you ever experienced that? And I said, yeah, I had a person that worked for me. I use interpersonal communication skills. I speak to people, I listen, I clarify and confirm and all that, right? And I had this individual who was kind of an older guy. He says, can we talk? He goes, you got to be the most professional guy and the most listening guy I've ever worked for. But I'll be honest, here's the deal. Just tell me what you need. We don't need to do it. He goes, this is just my thing. It makes me nervous when you go back and forth. I said, is that what you prefer? He goes, yeah. So I did. And he was like, it was great. So meet people where they're at.
Right.
It's going to take time to care about people, to actually meet them where they're at, right? To get the job done. So,
and active listening doesn't mean everything you hear is has to be acted on, or that every idea offered up is a good one. You need to actively listen and then make a decision, right? But nothing worse than people, feeling like you didn't even, you weren't even listening.
No, we weren't listening to anything I said.
Yeah, you didn't listen to a thing I said. All right. Leader task number 4. Here's a dirty word, right? Accountability. No, not really. So leader task number 4 in the create a positive climate competency domain: enforce accountability, right? Accountability. This is a leader task that's important for creating a positive climate, regardless of occupation or industry. Accountability may look different, does look different in various industries. Accountability inside of a laboratory that does blood testing and analysis may be different than accountability on the Walmart floor, sales floor, retail floor.
Right.
But accountability nonetheless is important. And one of the key terms that came out of that was this idea of standards. There must be standards in place by which to measure and then enforce accountability. And it not a dirty word, and doesn't always mean some sort of punishment, right, Mark?
No, absolutely not. And we talk about accountability, when leaders are doing this, they should be firm, fair, and consistent. You can't sometimes that's a bad thing. Either it's a bad thing or it's not a bad thing, right? So we need to be consistent with it. And ironically, the leader should take a look in the mirror, and if those are the rules for your team, those are the rules for you.
Okay? Holding yourself accountable is a good idea.
Hello. Right? Yes, you can't be doing the polar opposite of what you just told them is allowed, okay, or not allowed. You can't do that, because that confusion leads to chaos among a team, and they're all sitting around in a circle going, is it okay? I mean, he did it. Can we do it? And you make it very clear. It doesn't need to be all mixed up and all that type of stuff. But the other thing I would say about this is that sometimes a lot of people think enforcing accountability, is about punishment. We need to get in there and write them up and brr. No, it's really not always about, right now. You might have to go with a verbal and then a written and then maybe put somebody on the PIP. I don't know. But
Right.
You don't start with 0 to 60, okay? You got to understand. But in most cases, it really means ensuring that people you're in your team, they learn from their mistakes. It happened. They didn't do it intentionally. They lost track of it. Let's go back over that. What could you have done different? What are you going to do in the future? Okay, let's make sure we're clear on this. And you take the time to genuinely care about your people, because guess what? We're all not perfect. We all make mistakes.
Yep.
So just
and here's one drawn right out of anybody that's been a parent has experienced this. If you haven't been a parent, you've seen it on TV. So a child does something wrong, is in trouble with mom and dad,
right?
And they're talking about it later, and one parent says, "So should we ground little Johnny or little Sally for what they did?" And then the other parent says, "Well, I don't think so. I think he or she has learned her lesson already the hard way because of what the outcome of the misbehavior, right?" And so that same thing here was the learning that was important. Did Johnny or Sally learn from the mistake, right? Or do they know better now? Making some sort of punishment irrelevant, unneeded, unnecessary, right? And so that's a great point, Mark. That enforcing accountability, understanding what you did wrong, retraining, recognizing is the first step. It is the first and often the only required step in accountability, right?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Leader task number 5: encourage people to have fun. Okay,
what?
So work doesn't have to suck all the time.
Listen,
work is going to suck sometime.
It is.
Fact. And this is the real. It's the real world. Sometimes work is terrible. Sometimes work is super hard, super challenging, very difficult coworkers, difficult bosses, difficult economy, difficult competition, lots of things. But you can also have some fun. So encouraging people to have fun was indeed one of the leader tasks that came out of the job task analysis. And so talk a little bit about this idea of encouraging people to have fun in the workplace.
Yeah, in the context, when you're diving through this, hard work and fun are not mutually exclusive. Either we're doing hard work or we're having fun. We're not doing no. It's a thing. It works in the workplace, and actually, research and studies have shown that when people need a mental break, they're grinding and grinding and grinding. If you keep them on that wheel that much longer, they can literally break down. Right? You can't take people to the nth degree and then can figure out why they're all tied up in knots. Humor and laughter really can really help relieve anxiety and stress in the workplace, and there's something always that happens that we all find funny and we go, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. And it's that moment to kind of release. And, I'm not a medical technician in any stretch, but, having a little breather to kind of laugh about something that we all saw and go, oh my gosh, it lets in anxiety. Then you go back to work and you feel comfortable. So it's fine to do. I mean, we can't be yucking it up all day long, right? At the same time, when it happens, stop all that laughing. Get back to work. It's like, okay, you stress people for 4 hours straight on this task and no one's come up for air. Stop.
Right. Yep. Have a little fun while you're at it. Hey, think about, look at sports. Yeah. Sports teams, lots of pressure, competition, adversity. I mean, it's all, in a football game, they're literally slamming into each other, and but having some fun throughout that is it helps, right? It helps relieve the stress and anxiety, and indeed was one of the leader tasks identified during the job task analysis that we ended up organizing into this create a positive climate domain because it directly impacts it. So leader task number 6, there's 7 in this domain, and number 6 is demonstrate character. Specifically, during the job task analysis, the research, these 4 components of character, these character traits, you might want to call them, but moral courage, honesty, humility, and empathy were mentioned most often. These were the 4 most often mentioned. So we kind of look at these as the sort of must-haves, or perhaps the most important. At least they were the ones mentioned the most during the job task analysis. We didn't make it up. This is what came through. So talk a little bit about the role of a leader demonstrating character. And again, another one of these that's important at the frontline manager level, just as important at the senior manager level, right? Absolutely. I mean, this demonstrating character never goes out of style, or shouldn't.
Yeah. And it's and I'm glad you brought this up and went through this, because we talk about character, and you mentioned the things about moral courage, honesty, humility, and empathy, right? You have to have those as a leader, and you have to demonstrate those with your team. And it's kind of funny because, and you dive deeper into the curriculum, talking about moral courage is acting for more reasons despite the risk of adverse reactions that might occur, right? And I've been asked many times, some folks haven't encountered this, and it's not a bad thing, but I've had people say, well, you ever had to deal with that? And I said, yeah. I said, I have. And I said, well, give me an example. And I give them a scenario, several I can pull from, but one simple thing was the company made a decision, and they were going to downgrade the number of sites they had. And I'm sitting up at the C-suite, and somebody has the great idea, we're going to give people 3 weeks notice. I was like, and I was in charge of all 4 locations, right? I said, no, we're not. And they said, yeah, we are. If you tell them too soon, they'll all leave, and then we'll drop off, and it'll be catastrophic. I said, no, they won't. They'll be fine. You don't take people who built a contract over 5 years, and then when you're going to cut, you don't tell them with 3 weeks to go find a job. All right. And so senior vice president told me, says, all right, it's on you. If they all leave, then you're fired. I said, okay, I'll take the risk. No big deal. Go. So we did. I went and notified them, and I told them, and they all stayed to the last day. And the only 7 people we got rid of were the ones who were on pips and going out the door anyway, but that didn't matter. They were on their way out, but everybody else stayed. And, I got pizza, and we all had a great thing, and they all celebrated in the time they spent, and they had plenty of time, gave them 3 months, and they were going to job interviews. And guess what? They had a job landing to go to and everything else. That's how you treat people.
Yeah.
But I wasn't a popular son for about 3 months. So
I've heard people say that discipline is doing the right thing even when nobody is watching. Yep. And moral courage is doing the right thing when everybody is watching.
Yep.
Even though it may not be
the
popular thing to do. So if you've ever when you were my first I think introduction to moral courage was when I was a youngster. I think I was in maybe middle school, so maybe like 6th, 7th, 8th grade, or maybe it was more like 5th. I don't remember, but I remember there was a kid getting picked on the bus, but everybody growing up had the kid that got picked on,
right,
and the kid and the bully kids that picked on that kid. And there was another kid who I really started looking up to after this, because he demonstrated moral courage. But he stood up and told the bully kids to quit picking on the other kid, and he was by no means like big or tough or but what he had was moral courage.
That's right.
And he said, yeah, I've seen it. I can't stand seeing that. I haven't, I've seen too much of this.
Right.
And they, I mean, it wasn't a storybook ending. It wasn't like they backed down and went their way. They actually all got in a big fight after we got off the bus, which I remember as being one of the first fights I ever got in, because I got in on the side of the moral courage kid because I was so impressed. So it didn't go really well for us, but it was still, when I told my folks about, what what I all scuffed up, and I told the story, I think it was, one of the proudest moments my dad ever had was like, good on you. So, anyways, hopefully more people start to see moral courage in the honesty. Obviously, humility. Nobody likes somebody that's full of themselves.
Right.
You want to be confident, not cocky, and then empathy. Not sympathy, but empathy. Being able to understand people, because you've walked a mile in their shoes, perhaps, and then if you haven't, at least trying to understand it as best you can. So our research showed, the job task analysis showed that those 4 components of demonstrate character were most important. Of course, there are many more character traits that are worthwhile, but these are the ones that we evaluate, folks. So we evaluate their understanding of these, what they mean, why they're important, and how people actually do it in the workplace on the exam. Okay, leader task number 7, the final leader task in the create a positive climate competency domain is keep the team informed. And a key term that came out of that was this idea of transparency that was used over and over again.
Yes.
In describing this leader task of keeping the team informed. So go ahead and talk a little bit about that, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, this is a critical part. I mean, when things change, and we all know this, wherever you work, whatever your profession is, whatever you do, what do they say? No plan survives contact with the enemy, right? So we all have a great plan. It sounds great and groovy. All of a sudden, things change, right? Well, a boss can't be the one who's like, hanging on to that info for like literally a week and a half. And then on Wednesday, they go tell the team, hey, we're going to have to redo everything and we got to have it done by Friday. When did this come out? Oh, about a week and a half ago. What? So why is my life getting harder because you're lazy and didn't come tell me? Well, I didn't get around to it. Unacceptable. Okay. You've got to be open and honest with your people, and that's one of the things that you see out here, keeping your team informed. It's so easy of a thing. You look at it and go, yeah, of course you do. Do you? Because, I mean, look, there's things people need to know in a timely manner so they can make adjustments. They can do what it did, and I love that in the curriculum where it talks about, knowledge is power, and it says, not having information stressful, but I always like to say knowledge is power if only applied. Okay. Right. It has to be applied. You have to use it. You have to share it with your team. You can't just leave them hanging at the last minute. That's unheard of a leader to do that. And I'll tell you, you want to go back to earning trust. You just eroded a lot of trust right there with your team because you leave them to the last minute. Now they're the ones on the hook to get it done and make it right. And they don't have enough days.
Yeah. And these leader tasks, these first 7 leader tasks in the create a positive climate competency domains are interrelated. You just talked about how earning trust can be associated with keeping the team informed. Moral courage can be associated with keeping the team informed because bad news does not get better with time. Bad news does not age well, and it would be unpopular sometimes to say things, but you have to do it anyways. And not only unpopular with in the example that you gave, not only unpopular with the receiver of the news of the information, but also your peer group may not appreciate that you're passing that information when they wanted to hold on to it, but you knew it was the right thing to do. That's moral courage in character. It's also respectful, right? That's a way of treating people with respect, is to keep them informed. So the magic of what I call it magic, it was research, but what we did when we did the job task analysis is we took these leader tasks and we organized them. We call it bucketing. We put them in these competency domain buckets where they were most interrelated, and that's what we publish. And this is what the certification exams are built off of. The certification exams assess the what, why, and how of these leader tasks, and they haven't changed since we did the research back in 2020. Or 2018, 2019, we revalidated them in 2020, 5 years later. So I think it was 2023, 2024. In there, we revalidated them with another group of subject matter experts. that said, yeah, we agree. This is all still good. We may have come up with one or two additional keywords. Mm-hmm. I think on that second round is when transparency came through. And so we added that as a keyword, but the framework did not change some of the details, underlying details, the what and the what and the what may have changed slightly as far as key terms, but the why and the how, more importantly, did not. And so that's create a positive climate. That's the first competency domain. When folks go through the exam prep training, which is not meant to replace all of the leadership training and experience that you have. It's meant to take all of the leadership training and experience that you have, the more the better, and to put that in context to help you understand your unique leader-follower experience, your experience with each one of these leader tasks in your own world of work, right? Regardless of occupation, regardless of industry, to help you understand the what, why, and how of those leader tasks in preparation for the oral certification exam, where you may have 3, 4, 5, or 8 minutes to articulate your understanding of the importance, the what, why, and how, factual, conceptual, and procedural knowledge associated with each one of those leader tasks. So thanks, Mark, for going through those with me. Next week, the next time, which I believe we're going to be live next week again on Tuesday at the same time, we're going to get into the develop cohesion competency domain, the second of the 5, also applicable to frontline, experienced, and senior managers. And we're going to go through those and do a quick review of those leader tasks. For anyone that's listening in live now or catching us on the RBLP Leadership Certifications YouTube channel or on our Getting the Work Done on Spotify, iHeartRadio, you can find the list that we shared is on our website under framework. Hit the drop down there, and the 5 competency domains are listed out. So, Emilio, anything to add before we take off?
No, you actually hit it all. You took my whole thing. So that was fun. No, we do have a bunch of upcoming courses from our authorized training partners starting the first of the month. So check out our website. I know for a fact there's a few starting on April 5th. There's a couple started on Wednesday nights. So I would check out the website and see which one fits you the best.
Yeah, and the fit is, pick whoever's closest to you. They all teach the same exam prep training. All of the pricing is pretty much consistent. And all of our partners and the instructors that work for them are well qualified. So we recommend people choose an authorized training partner that's close to you, certainly in the same time zone. That makes things easier, so you don't make a time zone mistake and show up an hour early or an hour late,
right?
Or 2 or 3 hours early or late for class. But pick a partner close to you, get through the training, which can be done fairly quickly, and then prove what you know. By sitting for an oral certification exam. RBLP is the only nationally recognized series of leadership certifications in the marketplace, recognized by the Department of Labor, funded by the military, funded by GI Bill. What am I missing here? ACE college credits, the only professional certification that comes with college credit recommendations from the American Council on Education. So
3 credits.
Yeah, 3 semester hours, a full
That's right.
Full class just for taking. Right. You can spend a Saturday morning getting ready for the exam, and you can spend 90 minutes one day of the week taking the exam, and combined with a little prep time before you meet with your instructor in 10 hours or so probably, you can be RBLP certified. That's our for frontline managers earn 3 semester hours of college credit for that. That thousands and thousands of colleges and universities across the country accept ACE, American Council on Education college credit. So great. All right. So thanks everybody for joining us, and we will be back same time, same channel next week.
RBLP, Learn more, lead better.
Once again, we'll see you guys next week. See ya.